Christina's Conscious Energetics Thought Process presents Planet Utopia, Episode 12-22. Gravity equal importing. Humans observe the light-permitted conceptual local physical environment patterns, abstracting self-identified interpretations of the images gleaned thus. Superficially, it goes from the physical to the metaphysical before the generalized energy information is known in the slightest degree. Eventually, metaphysical intellect, as a function of eternal omniscient mind's omni-rational universes, eternal regenerating patterning integrity, learns more than merely to describing the experience as an observer of the eventing environment. Its mind evolves to decipher, functioning as self-discoverable relevance to individualized inceptions, conceptions, deceptions, and exceptions. Deciphering can be to convert from code into language, that is, the adapted formulated words and numbers that are spoken, written to convey interpretively meaning between self and others in the group, the community, the extended community, the world shared by humanity. Deciphering can be to succeed in understanding what may be relatively difficult to interpret. The more complicated the technology of the communications process, the further away interpreting it can be from simple language spoken and read from childhood into the culture one is born. Code is a system of words, figures, symbols that are used to represent other configurations, but not necessarily of secrecy. So code is widely used without detailing the deciphering potential in the generalized content, where in the most economical way a system can behave, may hold the keys to differently thought language coordination. In every case, interpreting articulations as subconscious or conscious operations involve metaphysical mind's inherently astute faculty of thought's integral interest in the truth. The integrity that underlies relationships, directions, conceptualizations of the observed, tune-inable phenomena. The thought-processed experiences produce geometries that may or might not be consciously informed of, within and without, which is one of the always and only coexisting complementarities that physics has found. Consciousness, evolution, awareness of scenario universe provides a differently coordinated thought language from variously conducted forms of communications at variously attempted evolution breakthroughs. Breaking through PRJWBCHM, politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex, hierarchical matrix, imposed barriers, is purposely targeted, focused penetrations where the deepest layers of deceit may be discovered. This is made all the more difficult when the PRJWBCHM controls seemingly all aspects of the universal communications process to invoke paranoia by the deciphering mind, whose tenuous personalized distinctions seem relatively inconsequential compared to the greater authority. Oddly, though, collectively, the greater authorities are subsets of the PRJWBCHM that the potentially self-doubting universe explorer's innate deciphering ability experienced as a contradiction to its intuitive sense of truth, causing its personalized intention to name it. Initially, the process distinguishes God from religion, subsequent to any personal observation of the R factor's missteps. Its logical mind cannot accept the institution as a whole WHOLE system that excuses and permits any misuse of what was understood to be a type of sacred trust. So, It is the illogical mind that justifies and rationalizes the behavior while condemning others, which brings in the J factor to supposedly rectify the situation. Least known at the inception of clarity is any resemblance to alternate technologies, much less alternating currents and neuronal circuits, which might as well be happening on an alien planet. So uninformed by the R and J factors of the PRJWBCHM until the 21st century, when the computer technology made possible investigating word choice, which is an integral association for the deciphering ability that is not necessarily identical to the mathematical ability that finds coded messages to encode. By word choice, convenience, I mean the dictionaries and thesauruses in the word processing software. Each and every intuited word choice, if not hampered with by a computer hacker's mischievous presence, arrives during the writing process and is potentially adjusting the alternate direction. It used to be called from the cosmic stream, the transceiver brain traffic, and actually is so uniquely individual the intuited word comes to mind, as this may be what happens to the mathematicians when numbers and numerical symbols come to mind at eureka moments as they work their discovery process. It could explain the subtle difference between the literal and the technical, the word and the number that derive from a higher mind than any human will ever know, which is the eternal, omniscient mind, Eom in lowercase, or Eom in uppercase. Within is internal. Metaphysical intellect, systemic thought, internalizes extrapolations from its referential reality basis. Without is external. As yet unacknowledged or not yet accurately identified, metaphysical intellect adapts to externalizing interpretations of its individual referential reality basis. This seems to keep in a perpetual, undifferentiated defensive acceptance of the inherited detriments, regardless that it initiated before any possible clarification by 21st century computer technology's potentially economical use of it. Our humanities educated ignorance in this entire regard seems to have enabled the algorithmic codes to dominate and control the universal communications process. Its detrimental effects conceal the importance of synergetics as EISEDP. Experiences, intuitions, speculations, experiments, discoveries, productions, which are among human events the irreversible succession of self-regenerative events that can be dismissed without explorations in the geometry of thinking and establishing consciousness evolution's most economical way, systems can behave relative to unity and self in universe. We cannot reverse the non-identically irreversible experienced events, but we can economically initiate cognizance of more accurately coordinated thought, language, generalized communications process. Synergetics 502.22. This may be where vectorial geometry makes the profoundest difference correlatively to the informed intellect's consciously coordinated contribution to the universal communications process. Vectors of the geometric models and synergetics without recognizing the inherent necessity delays conceptual experimentation and consequently cannot inform a mind's conceptual metaphysical generalized conception field of thought that each vector's mass times its velocity equals 0. So without delay, We can initiate humanity's information gathering, local problem solving, omniconsiderate functioning, differentiating and integrating awareness of consciousness evolution's eternal generalized pattern integrity. Since radiation and gravity, one of the always and only coexisting complementarities that physics has found, is less complicated to understand once we learn about radiation reaching its maximum velocity limit and turns into gravity at zero as well, that gravity comes to maximum concentration and becomes radiation. Then, there is no logical reasoning to suppose this excludes thought language general systems thinking, thus in everyday communications as a mind internalizes awareness inducing metaphysical generalized conceptioning to process information including vectorial geometry of universe. How otherwise can the cognitive faculty of thought begin to recognize the inherently inviolable integrity of the individual? After all, it is economically potential throughout the universal communications process when mindful of the isotropic vector matrix, when not defensively fixated on any or all factors of the P, R, J, W, B, C, H, M, as every vector's mass times velocity equals zero, in the matrix, the isotropic vector matrix, IVM. At this point of inception conception, we appreciate learning that gravity is innocent of wave, is all wave linear, and that gravity equal importing. Gravity casts no shadows. It bends light waves whether or not visible light is present. Gravity is cosmic and local, one of the always and only coexisting complementarities that physics has found, omniembracing integrity. Gravity circumferentially coheres inherent-to-coherent objectives, possibly, turning the systemic thought inside out, outside in. Since we must go through the subjective to reach the objective, why must this involve subjecting our humanity to millenniums of misleading information that perpetuates omitting the generalized content of disseminated information for reasons that eventually disclose self-serving ambitions to maintain the status quo? As Bucky Fuller wrote concerning environment, the human is the nucleus of environment. He has named it. By the way, people with pronoun fixations may chagrin at the pronoun he here to identify all humans, but everyone knows he meant mankind, which of course is both male and female, one of the always and only coexisting complementarities that physics has found. Convex and concave can be identifiable as female and male with less effort as we bend the line, realizing the line is a geometrical and topological identifiable characteristic where geodesics and irrelevance can clarify the most economical relationship and shortest travel routes between points. Since there is no geometry of space, only of local aggregates of principles of special cases, human awareness of omnirational universe can advance our linguistics to coincide with consciousness evolution awareness of the deliberate design, where all the components of the whole WHOLE system include awareness of generalized principles, synergetics, rubber glove. Until next time, I continue anticipating our healthy, happy coexistence on Earth and on planet Utopia. Reference Synergetics 232.02 Rubber Glove. Synergetics 502.22 EISEDP. Contact planetutopia60@gmail.com. Thank you.